25, breaks a couple of tackles, and look at him go! He could go all the way! Touchdown!
Winning is not a sometimes. It's an always. Winning is a habit.
What's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Gut Check Podcast. We're back at it, ready to talk AFC East today. With me, as always, good friend and co-host Seth Floyd Hansen. How you doing this morning, man?
Tired, good. Had a good fantasy football draft last night, rookie only draft. So it feels like we're getting closer to football. And I love me some fantasy football, so that was good. Went 4 wide receivers in my rookie draft. Don't worry about it. Didn't even look at other positions because just need the wide receiver. So, but no, I'm good, man. I'm excited. It's early, but I'm excited.
So just a long night in the war room is what you're saying.
Yeah, quick turnaround to go, war room with my guys and my scouts, all the months of prep, and then gotta please the media and the fans right now early in the morning. So
sure, yeah, we all thank you for
it. It's not all glamour and fame, you guys. There's a lot of legwork into all this too. So
this is true. True. So we're talking AFC East today. And looks like it's going to be a little bit more of an exciting division. Depends on how you guys want to break it down. But it's the first time that the Bills are actually favored to win the division since 1995, and which means the first time since anyone really besides the Patriots are favored to win the division. Obviously, with Tom Brady and, you could say Rob Gronkowski leaving the Patriots for Tampa Bay. What's Bill Belichick going to do? And then the other AFC East teams sort of in a rebuild, but it looks like they have their pieces ready to go in Miami and New York. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But starting at the bottom and working up, we have Miami finishing 5-11 last year. Had a good draft, a lot of picks throughout the 7 rounds, and now they're projected at 6 wins. How are you feeling about Miami?
I like what they're doing, and I think they have the right head coach. I think that they're doing all the right things right now. I just don't think this is the year for them, and I think it's because they're still just have instability at quarterback. I can't imagine the Dolphins not making a quarterback change at some point in the year, because that's every year that happens with Fitzpatrick. He is going to play well enough to make you think he's an all-pro for a week or two, and then something's going to happen. He's going to start throwing picks, and it's going to change. Like, even at the end of last year, Dolphins played well. I think they won 4 out of their last 5 games. They beat the Patriots in a game the Patriots needed to win. And so they're going to have some success, but the quarterback instability is what scares me, because at some point, I imagine you're going to see Tua. I don't think anyone really believes Tua is going to sit the whole year. You don't spend a top 5 pick on a quarterback and not have him see the field once. That seems just unrealistic to me. And if you don't, and you play Fitzpatrick the entire season, I don't know if that makes me feel any better. Again, Fitzpatrick is good, but just wildly inconsistent. Yeah. And someone I don't trust over the course of 16 games. So 6 wins seems like right on for me. I guess if things go the right way, they could hit 7, but 6 wins kind of feels like their sweet spot to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like where they're going with the team. I like the Tua pick. I think that makes sense. I would be hesitant to try to put him in this year, sort of at any time, even if Fitzpatrick doesn't start working out. I would rather get some of your other guys some playing time, especially some of those offensive linemen that you drafted. Get those people some reps in order to protect Tua, and you almost have another rebuild year here to get Tua stronger. But, I think that's hard to do, especially with the fans are going to be clamoring for them as soon as, they start losing. And like I said, now the division's wide open. Take your shot now. You really only have to get through Buffalo and New England. Let's see what they figure out. You don't want to give them more time to figure out what they have and just get better. But I don't think they can put it together enough to do better than 6-10. So I'm going to take the under here because it felt like 5-11 was them exceeding expectations last year.
Sure.
Especially how they came on strong at the end of the year. So I don't think they're able to do that again. I don't think they got a whole lot better immediately. I think they just started building towards the future. The interesting thing too is what are you going to do with Josh Rosen right now? He could just be your backup guy. I don't know that Fitzpatrick is going to be a great backup forever. I mean, he's certainly getting older. And like you said, he's hot and cold. Maybe Josh Rosen is just going to be your good backup because we know there's value in that in the NFL. But it does seem like people are trying to call Miami and trade for him.
So, yeah, I mean, are you going to keep 3 guys on the active roster? Because if you put one of them, Fitzpatrick's not going to the practice squad. Tua's not going to the practice squad because you sign anybody off the practice squad. And I guess you could put Josh Rosen on the practice squad, but that seems risky too. If people are interested in him, all you have to do is go sign him. But you also, you just teams don't keep 3 active quarterbacks on game day. So it does seem up in the air. I also, Miami's offense is just like, it's a little underwhelming. Yeah. You've got Jordan Howard, probably as your starting back. Now, the Dolphins traded for Matt Breida, who no one's a bigger Matt Breida fan than me. I think Matt Breida is a legitimate number 1 running back in the league. I think he's one of the best 32 running backs in the league. And I think he deserves to have the ball like in his hands 12 to 15 times a game. He's just explosive. He just makes things happen. And he kind of got in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse in San Francisco because he had at least one like tipped ball hit him in the hands, popped up in the air, and a Steelers defender intercepted it. And then he had a couple fumbles. And one thing we know I've learned about Shanahan is if you get in his doghouse, like you're probably not coming out. And that's why Breida got traded. And so I think he's got a chance if Miami realizes that. Like I would take Matt Breida in a heartbeat over Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard had like one decent year in Chicago when Matt Forte was kind of transitioning out of that role, and since then been underwhelming. And so I would take Breida before him. But at wide receiver, you do have Devontae Parker, who's a legitimate receiver. But your quarterback situation we've already talked about. You have Mike Gesicki at tight end, who's like a good athlete, but nothing to like put fear into the defense. So I think that's a big part of why like what about the Miami's offense screams like consistency, going to be able to get up and down the field. Even out, it'd be one thing if the quarterback position was in question, but you had some really nice pieces around it. And I just don't think they have really nice pieces around them. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I just want to point out, I think this was the fastest we've ever got to you mentioning Mike Shanahan, 49ers, something like that. That was pretty quick. This is the first team.
Kyle Shanahan, but I get the same thing.
It's early for me.
It's our podcast, dude. I can do whatever I want. So
that's what the fans come here for, I suppose.
That's just the influence he's had on the league. He's influenced all these other teams, and so we have to talk about him.
You play like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with Kyle Shanahan of how you can try to get from like Miami's offense, Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, Kyle
That's
Shanahan.
Not even that. That one's not even that hard. But I have no shame. He's that good, dude.
No, you have no shame at all. All right, so we're both thinking Miami not doing much better this year than they were last year, but a team to watch for sure, especially with Tua. If he stays healthy, he's the quarterback of the future, and they're building to something pretty impressive. So the next team also finished third last year, but that's the New York Jets, coming off a 7-9 season. Now their over and under is at 6.5, which maybe seems low for what they have. But how do you feel about that?
I like 6.5 is really low to me. I like the Jets, and if I'm being real with the AFC East, I think it's a 3-team race. I think Like, I think you could get to week 15, week 16, and all three teams have a shot to win the division still.
Yeah.
I like the Jets. Like, part of me wants to pick the Jets to win it. They finished strong last year. We know that they started awful. Sam Darnold had mono, so he missed 3 games, I think it was. That kind of like that game probably slowed down his development, or that situation slows down his development because you missed 3 games when you desperately need to get game reps, and then recovering from mono, like he probably didn't feel 100% till way late in the season because it took such a toll on his body. But I like Sam Darnold a lot. He played really well. They won. They finished the season strong. They beat a couple teams that weren't as good, but no win is a gimme for the Jets, obviously. So they went out and won. They beat the Steelers, who were playing for something. So I think they did some nice things. Their offense worries me a little bit. Defensively, they did some really nice things. You were going before we started. You were talking about, I think you said they were the 7th ranked defense or something.
Yeah, 7th overall.
Yeah, so top 10 defense last year. Now there's some reports of Jamal Adams being very disgruntled right now. Like it's being pushed towards like it's getting more likely he's going to be traded, which would be a huge blow to that team because whoever they trade him for it's going to be draft picks if he gets traded. So that's not going to immediately help them this season. Offensively, like I think it might be coming around because you expect Darnold to pick up where he left off. They fixed I shouldn't say fixed, but they addressed the offensive line, taking Mekhi Becton with their first pick. They took Denzel Mims, who I think could be really good from Baylor, came from a winning program. I mean, their wide receiver core is concerning because outside of Mims, you've got Jamison Crowder. They signed Brashard Perryman. So if Mims isn't good, like if Mims is a bust, I guess you could say, like you're gonna struggle on offense. But if they can get Le'Veon Bell rolling, like you could see the Jets, like they could surprise people and win 10 games. I don't think that I wouldn't put money on that, but I think more than 6.5. I think they're a 7-8 win team. So
yeah, I'll probably agree with you there on. I mean, it still feels like they can't be much better than like 8-8 because that offense was so low. I mean, even if you factor in Sam Darnold missing 3 games, it was the worst offense in the league. Coming in at 32nd. So how much better can you really be? You're not gonna jump into top 10. Can you jump into the top half? I mean, I think that's going to be tough. Yeah, I like the Denzel Mims pickup. Mekhi Becton, it was a little high for what I saw, and like he could be a raw talent, but people just love his size overall. Like the guy's an absolute monster, so the pick is fine there. I also like the LaMichael Pirine pick, their running back that they got out of Florida, because it seems like Adam Gase either doesn't know what to do with Le'Veon Bell or doesn't really like Le'Veon Bell.
No, he doesn't like him. He said when he got hired, I wouldn't have signed him.
Yeah. I mean, so that's not a good sign. Already you have this like disgruntled coach running back situation, and then everything you've already talked about with Jamal Adams. You need to keep Jamal Adams on the team. Like the guy's an all-pro safety, one of the best. You drafted another safety, which I like, but he's not going to replace Jamal Adams. I mean, that guy, more of a free safety, special teams kind of guy, play all over the field. Jamal Adams is, Earl Thomas type caliber, But yeah, so overall, my hesitation is still with that offense. Sam Darnold couldn't be the franchise quarterback. He's the guy you want to build around, but they need more pieces around him for them to make this big leap. If you're the 32nd offense overall, I don't think you're going to be that much better this next year to really elevate you. So I'm going to rule out the Jets from actually getting into the division race, so to speak. I think, they'll probably finish like 1 or 2 games behind, but I don't think anyone's really going to give them a chance for one in that division. So I'd say their ceiling is 8-8. So I'll take the slight over.
Like, you could flip it the other way, though. Like, they won 7 games with the 32nd overall offense, meaning
True.
they improve it all. If they get into, like, is it far-fetched to think they could be top 20? Are you saying they couldn't even get top 20?
I think I would just say like 20 is probably their ceiling. It'd be interesting. I should like try to sit down and just which teams do I think, how do I rank the offenses,
Sure.
And I don't know if I get to them at 20.
Because I'd be willing to bet money that they won't finish as the 32nd best offense or worst offense. I'd bet money that they're probably top 25, right? Like, I think they can fit there just from Sam Darnold, assuming he plays 16 games and just takes a step in his development, like that alone, I feel like puts you in the top 25. The big question will be the defense. Like, can the defense replicate what they did?
Yeah.
What happens with Jamal Adams? And I'm not convinced the Jets defense can replicate what they did, especially with the Jamal Adams thing going on. So, I like the Jets, and they're a team that, like, I want them to be good. Their biggest hangup might be Adam Gase. I'm not a big Adam Gase. Like, he didn't do it in Miami. I guess they made the playoffs one year in Miami, but I'm not a big Adam Gase guy. But the Jets are probably a year away from really. The reason I would call it a 3-team race in the AFC East is just because of the uncertainty of all the other teams in the AFC.
Yeah. And
the Jets have a good quarterback and a good defense. Well, I guess depending on how you define good quarterback, but I'm a Sam Darnold believer, and so that's why I feel like you just can't rule out teams that play defense and have a quarterback who knows what he's doing.
That's true.
But most likely, like, they're probably a year away or a different head coach away from really being a threat. So,
yeah. No, that's true. Any improvement could bump them into 8-8, 9-7. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. The next team, a lot of people actually have winning the division. A lot of predictions. They are, like I said, predicted to win, but the over/under that we have is actually second highest still for them, and that's Buffalo coming in at 8.5 wins. And of course, they are coming off of 10-6 wild card season, one of the best seasons for Buffalo in recent years. And with Josh Allen showing a lot of improvement, looking like the quarterback of the future there, and that defense, something stellar. How do you feel about Buffalo?
I like Buffalo, and if I'm putting money on a team to win the division, I'm taking Buffalo. I think you're going to get the same thing from Buffalo that you got last season. I know that they traded for Stephon Diggs in a big move. It'll help them. I'm not saying it won't help them, but I don't think it's going to be a move that takes them to just from a wild card team to a Super Bowl contender all of a sudden. Mostly because I like Josh Allen. I think you're right that he's obviously the quarterback of their future. Like, he's proven he can win games. But a lot of that is his running ability, like sneaky, like he's a good athlete. He's a big kid, so he can take some hits and he runs the ball a little bit, which has helped him. And I'm not saying he shouldn't do that, but in that situation, if that's where a lot of your value comes from, like Stephon Diggs isn't going to help you in that regard, right? But he'll be an impact on that team. Obviously, they have a good defense. I think that they are confident in themselves, and I think they made the playoffs last year without that 7th seed. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're the most stable team. They won it last year, or they got to the playoffs last year. They won 10 games. So I'm putting my money on them. Like, I would expect them to win 10 games again this season. So.
Yeah. And that's 10 games in a division with the Patriots and Tom Brady winning 12. And we both think the Patriots are going to drop off a little bit. So yeah, I think Buffalo's going to win this as well, because I think barring any sort of like massive regression from Josh Allen or that defense, I think 10-6 is their floor. But I just don't know that they're going to get like 12-4. I think I saw someone, had them at 12-4, and I think that's a little ambitious, just because the AFC is still tough. They have a pretty tough schedule ahead of them, so I think they should be happy if they can go 11-5 and win the division. That means they've improved from last year, and they finally, can host a playoff game, even though we both think they probably won't, get the bye or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing I was reading, like Josh Allen doesn't have the best accuracy in deep throws. He's well above average and throws 0 to 19 yards, but then massively below average and throws 20 plus, which the 20 plus throws, the more accurate you are on those throws, like the higher the expected points added for deep throws are compared to any other type of throw. That's why those like deep throws are so important. So the pickup of Stephon Diggs, I think, helps that because he was such a high target for that kind of thing. So hopefully those two sort of paired together can work. The thing working against Allen, of course, is it wasn't just he didn't have anyone to throw to downfield. He was the fourth most inaccurate quarterback, just throwing what they deem uncatchable or inaccurate balls. So it's not it's not a drop, an interception, guy should have caught it, whatever. They were just uncatchable passes. So that's a little bit of a concern. And then the other thing I saw, he was a good runner on designed runs, but he was one of the worst when it was a pass play that broke out into a scramble. He had as many fumbles as he did missed tackles and touchdowns. Well, it was 5 fumbles and then 6 rushing touchdowns. So you're kind of like, what are you going to get with this guy, a fumble or a touchdown?
Sure.
Pretty interesting there. So, I all that being said, I still like Josh Allen. He just needs to make sure he's not throwing the ball away to the other team, I should say. Give your receivers a chance. I like Cole Beasley out there. Stephon Diggs makes sense. I think they still have Frank Gore, right? He's going to run until he's like 50 years old, or no, he moved on.
He moved on to the Jets. I was going to bring it up, but you just made fun of me for bringing up the Niners, so I glossed over it. But he signed with that.
Right.
So
you meet your quota of talking about the 49ers like one episode.
Yeah.
So
it'll be Devin Singletary for the Bills,
who I like.
Yeah, I like, and they drafted Zach Moss, who will be a nice piece there too. But the whole season, it feels like for the Bills is going to hinge on Josh Allen, which for most teams, like it usually your quarterback's going to be the biggest factor. But it feels like the Bills, especially last year he threw 20 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, so like a decent ratio. Like if you can keep it under 10 interceptions in a season, that's really good. You just like to see him throw even 5 or 6 more touchdowns. In today's league, like if you're not throwing 30 touchdowns, you're just not considered like an elite guy, which like I don't think Allen is going to ever be like considered an elite guy, but I don't care if you win football games, who cares? Like and in cold weather in Buffalo, like that's kind of what you need. You just need a guy who figures it out. Because you're just not going to get what you get in some of these other areas, like with Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. So
I think there's nothing wrong with being a Ryan Tannehill type guy. You can run the ball when you need to run, you can hand it off, and you can play action pass, and you can make some throws when it counts. And obviously we saw Tannehill do well. So.
And you're loved by the fan base, that has been through a lot of bad football. Like they're all about Josh Allen up there. And I promise you, they don't care how many touchdowns you throw. They just care about how many wins you get at the end of the year. So
I think what's going to be interesting, though, coming up with him and Sam Darnold, even like their contracts are going to be coming into question here pretty soon, right?
Like next year, at the end of this year or something.
Yeah. So not this year, but probably the end of next year, right? We're going to be thinking about that. And right now, it doesn't look like any of those guys should reset the market, but they're still starting quarterbacks. And, maybe Josh Allen's already led his team to the playoffs. Maybe Sam Darnold does that. What are these guys going to start paying them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They shouldn't get Russell Wilson. They shouldn't get Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson type money. But as we see, even with Dak Prescott, if you are a starting quarterback who can get your team to the playoffs, you're probably going to be asking for and could possibly deserve a lot of money.
Yeah.
But are they necessarily worth it? Especially if we're saying Josh Allen is Ryan Tannehill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be interesting.
I think in that scenario, like Sam Darnold has a better chance of becoming like an elite guy who could change the market.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen is what he is, and hopefully he's smart enough to. Hopefully he just loves Buffalo, and he's like, all right, I'll take this is fair, I'll take it. But I know who loves Buffalo. Well, he went to Wyoming, like he went to college in Wyoming, so maybe he just I don't know. I don't know, man. Just a great point. We'll see, because it's gonna be atrocious if one of those guys doesn't take the next step, but they get elite quarterback, reset the market money. Like the NFL is not broken, but there's some like what do you do? At some point, someone's gonna put their foot down, and it might be Jerry Jones, which little teaser for next episode. Like maybe Jerry Jones is like, nah, I'm gonna roll with Andy Dalton. Like I'm just not gonna do this. You know what I mean? Like who knows? Who knows what's really gonna happen? So
yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So, I mean, talking about quarterback situations, uncertainty, what are you gonna do? You've lost your franchise quarterback in New England. You've lost the greatest quarterback of all time in New England. So now you're rolling with an unproven backup. The New England Patriots still actually a higher over/under. We have them at 9 or 9.5. So we'll take the kicker at 9.5. Do you think they reach that mark?
it's so tough. I don't think. If you think the Patriots are going to be a train wreck, like you're kidding yourself and haven't watched football for the last 20 years. They're not going to be a bad football team. They're probably not going to be a top 2 seed in the AFC. They're probably not Super Bowl contenders. Just based off of last year, they weren't Super Bowl contenders with Tom Brady. But if you think a Bill Belichick team in New England is going to be like 6-10, like you're crazy. Especially with that, how good that defense was. It wasn't like last year they won 12 games because Tom was like lighting it up and the offense was rolling, and despite a bad defense, like their defense, I don't know what they finished at, but for a while they were considered the number 1 defense in football. Stephon Gilmore, who won the Defensive Player of the Year award, like in a lot of circles considered the best defensive back in the game. Like they're going to be a good team and a very tough out. And so 9.5 is literally like that's the right number for them, because who knows? Can they get over the hump and get to 10 wins? I don't know, because Jarrett Stidham is such a wild card. Now he's got to learn under Tom Brady, and I know Josh McDaniels like him, and I know that the Patriots have not had trouble winning games with other quarterbacks in the small limited sample size they've had with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett. Like they were able to win games. Even if you want to go all the way back to Matt Castle, like Matt Castle looked like he was like a Pro Bowl quarterback in this
11-5 that year.
Yeah, in this like system. I think was Josh McDaniels still I think he was gone at that point with Denver. But they don't have trouble with it. Now, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Jarrett Stidham. Haven't watched him play. Didn't watch a whole lot of him in college. I know they believe in him. So what I can confidently say is they're not going to be a train wreck. If you think they're going 4-12, like you're completely off. I think 8-8, 9-7 is right for them. And if Jarrett Stidham is good, like if he's better than what people are giving him credit for, and the Patriots know something that the rest of us don't, then like 10-6 and coming for that division title, like death taxes and the Patriots winning the division title, like that's kind of what it is. So if I'm putting money, I'm taking Buffalo to win 10 games, win the division, and the Patriots second at 9 wins. But they're going to be a good team. Like you're kidding yourself if you think they're just going to fall off the map.
Yeah. No, I mean, the last 20 years, we talk about Belichick and Tom Brady as this amazing duo that can win the division every year. But also on top of that, we talk about the culture of the Patriots because they win with whoever they have there. So you can't, in one hand, talk about the Patriots culture and then in the other hand, say they're just going to implode because they lost a quarterback, no matter how great that quarterback is.
Sure.
So if you think the Patriots have a culture and they're able to win because of that culture, then you have to think they're going to be able to win and at least be competitive still. I also think we can trust Bill Belichick in what that franchise has done long enough to know if they didn't like Jarrett Stidham, they would have drafted someone else, or they would have made a move for someone else. Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater, like you name it. They could have made a move for someone else. So obviously they like him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? It probably just means he can maintain a top. So they finished 15th overall on offense with Tom Brady, and some injuries on offense, of course, as well. So if he only drops them to like 20th, from 20 to 25, I mean, I think that would be a big drop, first of all. And two, that probably just means they win 3 less games. So that puts them at, 9-7, so to speak. As long as that defense can remain, you had asked, they did finish first overall. They were second in passing and sixth in rushing. So first overall.
Yeah.
In terms of yards. So, yeah, I mean, I think we have to trust Bill Belichick a little bit, as painful as that may be for some people to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows what he's doing. I think Josh McDaniels knows what he's doing on offense too. And they're not going to ask Jarrett Stidham to do a whole lot. They're going to ask him to try to hand off the ball, make the right reads, and not turn over the ball. You can go far in the Bill Belichick system if you just do your job, as he always says. So don't turn the ball over and make the right reads. And sure. I think that's something he can do. So
the good thing for Jarrett Stidham to be successful in this offense, you don't have to be an amazing arm talent. I've watched so many Patriots games where they slowly just chunk away and go down the field because Tom Brady would get the ball out in under 2 seconds on like a 5-yard throw. But if you pick up 5 yards a play, you win games. And that's what the Patriots have done. And there were times, obviously, especially when Gronk was on the team, when Randy Moss was on the team, where they'll push the ball downfield, but you haven't seen a ton of it lately because they haven't had any talent. So they're not good. You're right. They're going to ask Jarrett Stidham to hand the ball off. And McDaniel's job is just to get Stidham ready to know where he can make the right read. If we're going to go 5 wide, can you find the right guy? Get the ball out in 2 seconds, and let's get rolling. And that's when I think of Patriot football, that's what I think of is quick dumping passes and hope that a guy like Julian Edelman can make a move and pick up 10 yards instead of 5. And the last thing I want to say, we're talking about that defense. They drafted Kyle Duggar with their first pick in the second round because Bill traded out. I love Kyle Duggar. He is the Division II safety who is just a beast. Now, obviously, like his highlights look great because he was playing Division II. But he just you would hope he would look great in that situation. He's just a big dude, plays safety, plays physical. He can return kicks. He's gonna be fun to watch. And nothing makes me more like excited, like in NFL like talk than seeing like Division II and Division III guys who get drafted and make it, or who just get picked up and make it. Like Pierre Garcon he was a Division III product from Wisconsin Whitewater who has had a very good career. I don't think he's even signed. I think he's out of the league now, but he for a while did really well. And there's a handful of guys like that. Joe Callahan, the Division III product from Wesley College, shout out, played Wesley 2 years in a row. They're a very good program. We got smashed. But who signed as a quarterback with the Packers and was in their preseason, and like it just was a cool story. And he didn't really end up making it, but I'm hoping. Kyle Duggar was a second-round pick out of a Division II school, so he's going to be fun to watch. He's a guy I'm going to be watching when I turn on a Patriot game this year.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's definitely just the type of guy that the Patriots are picking up, and he's not going to – I mean, I don't know anything about Kyle Duggar, right? But I assume he doesn't have an ego to where he's got to say, put me in safety and nothing else. Like, he'll play special teams. He'll play all over the field, and he's just another type of guy that Bill Belichick will say, I want you here, and I want you to do this. And the guy will say, all right, like, done. You know what I mean? And I'm going to do it, and that's exactly what Bill Belichick and the Patriots need. Those no ego, hardworking type of guys. I remember, I had actually forgotten about that draft pick, but just thinking it was the most Patriot thing to do.
With your first pick,
Your first pick, second round. I mean, Belichick is like in and out of his kitchen, not even caring what's going on. It's like, oh yeah, pick Kyle Duggar, and then just leaves.
It literally was a fantasy draft for Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, all right, I'm gonna go get a brownie real quick before my next pick. Like, just in and out.
He's in the kitchen making clam chowder while his dog's sitting at the computer.
That was the best thing ever. His dog just sitting there. I loved it.
Yeah. Belichick is playing 3D chess, and we're playing tic-tac-toe out here, man. It's just the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
definitely.
We'll see. But we both think, interestingly enough, the Patriots probably won't win the division. If we're putting money, on it, we go Bills, which I think says enough about what we think about the Bills and the Patriots itself, even though, we can't rule out the Patriots, and I think it will come down to the end of the season. Interestingly enough, the Patriots, their last 3 division games are the last 3 games of their schedule. Wow. So I was hoping they got to finish with Buffalo, but no, they go at Miami, then home Buffalo, home Jets, which should be pretty interesting, I think. Definitely that Monday night game. December 28th is when they're playing Buffalo. So that could be the division right there.
Yeah, really could. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Cold weather football. Love me some cold weather football. And it's going to be, this is the first time in 20 years that we're really excited to watch the AFC East. I don't think any of these teams are going to be Super Bowl contenders, but it's going to be one of the most competitive divisions coming down the stretch for sure.
So we are going to do a playoff prediction episode. But do you think the Patriots make the playoffs?
I'll say that. Oh man, to say they can't would be dumb.
Yeah.
I would have to look at it. My gut right now says no, but that's because I think the Steelers are going to be good this year. Trying to think of these other teams. Like I was so high on the AFC South with, you know what I mean? There feels like there are 3 teams could win the AFC South. So that feels like the spots are getting taken up. But I'll say this, if the Patriots make the playoffs, at least in my mind, and I'm sure a lot of people think like me, like that solidifies who should get 51% of the credit in New England, and it would be Bill Belichick. Tom Brady could go to the playoffs this year and great, but like look at his team, look at the weapons he has on offense. He's a good coach. That's if Tom doesn't make the playoffs, I'd be more surprised, I feel like. But New England making the playoffs with Jarrett Stidham after the greatest quarterback of all time leaves, and just the weapons they have on offense. If you can make the playoffs with that, to me in my mind, like I'll always give more credit to Bill. I really would.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We'll do more research before that episode, but I will say I would give them the edge to make it. I think the Steelers are going to be better, but I think I give the slight edge to the Patriots over the Steelers if I think about it. And then, I'm not as high on Denver as you are. Just kind of going across the board there. So I think, if they can get to 9-7, I think they could, at the very least, be that 7th seed.
And with that 7 seed, sure, 9-7 is probably, you have a real shot at it then. So
yeah.
So
that's our take on AFC East fans. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. There's a little notification bell too, so that when we post, you'll get notified. If you're listening on the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review as well. And hey, always leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Thanks.
Tune in for next time. We're going to talk about why the Cowboys are going to roll with Andy Dalton. They're only going to win 4 games.
Oh, man.
Disgrace of Dallas, that whole deal. So it should be a super fun episode for us.
So tank for Trevor in Dallas. All right, I can get on board with it.
Could you imagine that offense with Trevor Lawrence? That would be something else.
And maybe Jerry Jones is getting on that 3D chess game, and we don't even know.
Who knows? What I do know about Jerry Jones is he spent a lot of time on his yacht right now, and that's it. That's the only thing I know.
Could you blame him?
No, not at all. Not at all. So.